Do you want to build wealth through real estate? Well, you've come to the right place because we're going to be breaking down a blueprint to start and scale a property portfolio. And we're going to uncover these 5 key steps that you need to take to build and grow that property portfolio. Now, my name's Luke and I talk all things real estate, renovating and financial freedom. And I've been lucky enough for myself and my family to build out around a $9 million property portfolio. Now the market has grown. We've gone through a COVID boom and we've gone through lots of different periods of growth. But over a long period of time, real estate has performed well in Australia. And so how can you take action in your own life and your own journey? Let's start with step number 1. And that is looking to define your goals and strategy. A lot of people want wealth. They want nice cars and houses and maybe send the kids to private school and have 8 to 10 holidays, 8 to 10 weeks of holidays a year. But you need to clearly define your why. What is the reason you want to build this property portfolio? If you're just chasing money, that could be a reason and that might motivate you. For me, I'm chasing choices. I'm chasing the ability to drop my boys off at daycare and pick them up earlier in the afternoons, to have control of my calendar and who I work with and how many hours I work in a given week, and still have time for all the other things I want to enjoy in life, like passion projects like the Unbound podcast, and play football with my mates. And so I think it's important to define your goals from a lifestyle point of view and from the property point of view. When it comes to the property side, what amount of property do you need to acquire and what is your exit strategy? Are you looking like I have to go for capital growth first and cash flow second? And so you buy and build and scale a property portfolio, and then you might sell down some assets at opportune times and put secondary dwellings or maybe transition into commercial assets to get yourself that cash flow in a more retirement phase. I think it's really important that you look at your own situation, what a reasonable end income goal could be. For Emily and I, that was initially $50,000 because that's what I was earning when we started building our property portfolio. Now life changes and life does happen to you, and Emily and I have 2 beautiful boys, Asa and Eli, and I want to give them choices and I want to spend more time with them. So maybe my number looks more like $100,000 than $50,000 when we first started. So it's okay for those goals and strategies to change and develop over time, but I think it's important to look at your risk tolerance, look at where you sit right now and what's a reasonable goal for you to set. And so for most people, that's going to be somewhere between 2 to 4 houses and maybe selling down 1 or 2 of those houses and adding secondary dwellings to others, or looking to exit the whole property portfolio and move into a commercial property to give yourself that higher yield in retirement. Now we've got a clear goal and strategy of say 2 to 4 properties. We've obviously got to start with property number 1 because this is the blueprint of how to start a property portfolio and then scale. So to start, you need to be earning an income. That means a day job or a career. And so for most people, you're going to have to start on base wages. That might be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And so the average Australian wage is $100,000. So if you're an individual, you've got to try and work towards that $100,000 income, for example. When it comes to investing and looking at your finances, there's 2 key elements that brokers and banks look at. It's your serviceability and your capital. So let's start with serviceability. All serviceability is really your net income. So look at your day job. Say you're earning that $100,000 a year. Then look at your expenses. And so what is your net income, or income less expenses? What's the amount left at the end of each year that you would be saving essentially after tax? Say your income is $100,000 and you take out $25,000 for tax, and then your living expenses are $50,000 a year, including rent, rates, insurance, lifestyle costs, maybe some cheaper holidays. And so you're able to save $25,000 a year. The important part for the brokers and banks is that you've got the disparity between your income and your expenses. So you are saving, and that's what the banks see in your bank statements. This means you can service based on the income or savings that you're providing to your property purchase. And so the exciting thing here is if you can budget for a period of time and minimize your expenses when you go to the brokers and banks, you can get more debt or more servicing as you look to start your property portfolio. You then also need to look at the other side of the equation. So it's all well and good if you're earning $100K a year and you might be saving 25 grand of that. But say you've got no other capital. then you need to have a base level of capital to actually put down as a deposit on a property purchase. If you're a first home buyer, you might be able to get away with a 5% deposit and not have to pay stamp duty. So if you're buying, say, a $700,000 asset, that could be around $35,000 of cash for the deposit. And then you've got other closing costs and fees and building and pests and legal fees that you need to consider, and maybe even a buyer's agent if you use a buyer's agent for that service. And so say in total that you need around $50,000 as a deposit to go on that $700,000 property using the first home schemes that are available to you here in Australia. That would mean if you're earning $100,000, it might take you 2 years to save the deposit to then go and buy that property. And so there's no shortcutting here. There's no easy way to get more debt and to buy a property sooner other than having the net income and having the capital available and working with those brokers and banks to help you secure that first property purchase. If you want to work with my broker, you can head over to purposeproperty.com.au and click on Mortgage Broker and book in a free chat with the guys from Cube Home Loans. The thing is, working with these brokers is so important, not only to start, but then scale a property portfolio. The asset is important and the asset that you select is very important. That's where we'll be going next. But in this phase, it's important to sit down with someone that's trusted, can give you access to multiple lenders, and can help you break into the market sooner. So now we've clearly defined our goals and strategy, and we've got the finances underway with the serviceability and capital. Now let's take a look at step number 3, which is acquiring that first property. Now this is such a big deal for people because the first property can launch them into their second and third, or it can actually put the handbrake on and slow people right down if they buy the wrong style of asset. If you chat to anyone across Australia who's bought property in the last few years, they've probably made quite easy money because we've had such strong capital growth across the Australian markets. Now this is due to money printing and the cost of land and materials being so high. But I think moving forward in the next 5, 6, 7 years, that the capital growth won't come so easy to all areas across Australia. We're going to move from a more national growth rate into localized areas, and that's where you need to move away from where there's extra land supply and buy a good asset with ability to pull multiple levers, like maybe value add in the interim and long-term add a secondary dwelling. And so if you have multiple levers that you can pull on a property and you buy with good fundamentals, that's where you can secure a great first property purchase to help you set up for success in the future. So what do I look at when it comes to the fundamentals for making a good property purchase? The first thing you need to start is based on the previous step is your finances. So let's say you've got a maximum purchase price of $700K. It could be great, you might see some great suburbs for $800,000, $900,000 or $1 million, but you simply can't afford in those areas. Now, some people online in the property space will say that you need to only buy blue chip. I've never been that way. I've always said that you need to look at your finances. That's going to be a limiting factor. Then you need to look at the strategy for the specific property purchase. Are you wanting to get your hands dirty and force some manufactured value through renovations like Emily and I have done? Are you someone else that's busy and got kids or doesn't want to take on the dirty work themselves in renovations, and so you want to buy something that's more set and forget? So I think you need to look at the finances being the first limiting factor and then the strategy. How is this property going to help you in terms of the big picture? So the key fundamentals that I look at are mainly around the location and what we can do with the property in the future. So focus on the suburb and the street and the aspect. Those are going to do the heavy lifting for you in terms of capital growth. As we know, property is largely dominated by owner-occupiers. It's roughly 70% owner-occupiers, 30% investors. But when you make your first property purchase, even if you're moving into it as your own home, I think it's still important to take an investment mindset if you're wanting to start and scale a property portfolio. So again, working with that $700K budget, I'd probably be looking for something between $600,000 to $700,000 that's on at least 600 square meters, that's at least 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom. And in saying that, I bought 2 bedroom homes that performed very well in terms of capital growth. But most people, you want to stick to the averages, generally 3 bedroom, 1 bath or 4 bedroom, 2 bath. But I would typically opt for myself a 3 bedroom, 1 bath in a better location rather than a 4 bedroom, 2 bath home in maybe a more compromised or less scarce location. So take all those things into account, the land and location doing the heavy lifting, and then the property specific criteria are less important but still have some weight. You also need to look at things to avoid. So avoid fire, flood, landslide issues, soil issues. Avoid major structural damage. Consider all these factors when you're looking to make a property purchase, and so you can avoid buying a lemon. Now you need to sign the contract and execute on that first property purchase. So step number 4 is building the team and then looking to scale the property portfolio. Building a team might include building and pest inspectors, solicitors, accountants, a buyer's agent. It could be a number of advisors to help you along this journey. Now, I've said in the past, not everyone needs a buyer's agent. It's about the right person at the right time. And there's also a lot of great resources out here on YouTube, and there's a lot of courses now, and there's a lot of ways that you can educate yourself so you understand the exact strategies and how you can apply it to your own specific situation. What's worked for me is not necessarily going to work for someone else. But if we go back to those fundamentals and we look at the overarching strategy, that's how you can make the right choices for your specific journey. And so that's what we do for clients here at Purpose Property when we help people buy here in the Southeast Queensland market. We sit down with our clients, we understand their overall strategy, their finances, and where they're at in terms of their property journey, whether they're just starting on their first property or they're buying their 5th. We're here to journey with our clients and understand their specific criteria and their financial limitations and how they can start and then scale the property portfolio. When it comes to picking any professionals, I generally suggest looking at local reviews. Google reviews can be great because they're very hard to edit or alter. And I'd also take a look at their profile online. Are they showing deals that they've purchased? Are they explaining what they're doing? Are property managers reasonable in their price points? Look at each of those key parties, mortgage brokers, buyer's agents, property managers, assess them based on the word of mouth and what they're putting out online. And if you have a bad experience, don't be afraid to change. I've used different brokers throughout my journey and some have been fantastic, but I had to move to the next broker. I'm working with Cube Home Loans now to scale my property portfolio from 5 to 8 million. And so it's about choosing the right team at the right time. This leads me to step number 5 with your first property, and that's pivoting and growing and potentially looking to acquire your next asset if you want to scale and grow a property portfolio. You've understood your overall strategy, you've taken a look at your personal finances, you've taken action and got out there and bought your first property, and you've built your team over time. And so now it's about pivoting and understanding how you can continue to grow from here. A common circumstance that I see is maybe a mum wants to have some kids. And so before mum and dad go out there and have that next child, and that's going to impact the serviceability significantly, you go through a buying window of trying to acquire assets. Emily and I certainly did that. We bought our first property in 2018. We bought 2 more in 2020. We bought a unit block in 2021. So we grew our property portfolio over a 4.5 to 5 year period to $5 million. The reason we were so aggressive in our investing journey is we wanted to acquire the assets as quickly as possible within reason, and then allow time to do the heavy lifting of compounding year on year in terms of capital growth. And when we bought that unit block purchase, it was about balancing out our property portfolio. So we'd started with 3 blue chip assets with fundamentals for capital growth, and then we'd purchased a unit block in Coffs Harbour to balance out and add cash flow to our property portfolio. So when you get to step number 5, it's about being able to pivot and change with the times. Your goals are going to change, your finances are going to change. And so I say to people every 6 months, you should be sitting down, if it's you and your partner, reviewing this as a team. Everything that I've done in my portfolio has been a team effort. It's been Emily and I. We've both worked really hard in terms of our incomes, to acquire these assets, to leverage our time, knowledge, and skills to grow our property portfolio. And unfortunately, with Emily passing away from ovarian cancer last year, she didn't get to enjoy all the fruits of our hard work. And so it's important that you enjoy life along the way. Starting and then looking to scale a property portfolio can be great for your financial future and great for your family. But you still need to enjoy everyday life. You still need to have time where you play your sport, where you exercise, where you eat well, where you see your friends. It can be great if you're working 2 jobs. I see a young guy, Harley, working out. You've probably seen him on Instagram. I think it's Property with Harley. Now, Harley's working a day job as a mortgage broker and an evening job working at the BP, the local service station, to increase his income and to allow him to scale a property portfolio quicker. And so if you want to put in those extra yards and hard work, I think that's great. And that's something Emily and I did. I worked a few jobs essentially, renovating, with our own business. I was working as a chartered accountant when we first started and scaled our property portfolio. And so if you want to put in the extra graft and hard work, that's awesome, but also live life as well. Emily and I got to go to Europe, and we got to go travel around Australia. We got to go to Tasmania. We got to do lots of fun things, and we didn't delay those things because they were important to us. So even spending money on clothes or things that bring you joy, if those things bring you joy within reason, within your goals and within the bigger picture, I think spend your money on those things that bring you utility and bring you joy. Don't sacrifice everything for a greater future. Make the sacrifices that make sense to you and your family, but also balance it with the growth potential of a long-term portfolio. I've certainly tried to do that myself in balancing, and I work 4 days a week now, essentially. On those other days, I might make the odd phone call or do an email, but I try to allot my time and manage my calendar well so that I can enjoy the fruits of our hard work over the last 5, 6, 8 years. And so it's important to, as you look to start and build a property portfolio, that you balance and pivot along the journey. So if you're in the process of looking to start or scale a property portfolio, and you're looking to buy a property here in Southeast Queensland in the next 6 months, head over to purposeproperty.com.au to book in a free chat with myself. I've got myself and 7 staff who cover 5 local council areas, including Moreton Bay, Redlands, Logan, Ipswich, and Brisbane City Council, and we are local area experts as buyers agents purchasing here in Southeast Queensland. So head over to purposeproperty.com.au to book in a chat with myself. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think starting and scaling your property portfolio looks like in 2025? And if you want to see the exact wages that I earned as I scaled our property portfolio, give this video a click over here. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.